Hello, I'm Simon Whistler, you're watching Top Tens, and in the video today, our favourite outrageous homes of the rich and famous. Everyone dreams of living in the coolest, biggest, most amazing house imaginable, and everyone has thought about the wild amenities they'd go for if they could afford them. Heck, at this point we're pretty sure that's the entire driving force between HGTV's full schedule of shows. Big or small, there are some features that most of us can only dream of, but for the rich and famous, they can become a reality. Here are some of our favourite examples of the completely outrageous and lavish, yet entirely awesome celebrity homes. Number 10. Guillermo del Toro's Horror House. For those unaware, Guillermo del Toro is a movie director whose resume includes directing the Hellboy films, Pan's Labyrinth and Pacific Rim, and he also wrote the screenplays for Peter Jackson's Hobbit trilogy. In case you couldn't guess from that list, he's a dude way into horror and monsters, and if you ever find yourself getting invited over to his house, that's going to be hammered home even more as soon as you set your foot inside. Del Toro's home is more or less a giant museum of the history of horror films. Alternatively, you could just view it as a really nice haunted house that stays open 365 days per year. As soon as you walk in, you're greeted by a hellhound, which sets the tone for what he refers to as Bleak House. Statues of H.P. Lovecraft, as well as assorted famous creatures from horror films and literature, adorn basically every inch of the place. Now, it should be noted that Del Toro doesn't live in the home, he's got small children after all, and he probably doesn't have the budget for all of the soiled bed sheets that they would create living in such a terrifying house. Number 9. Neil Patrick Harris's house is where the magic happens. Neil Patrick Harris has had an interesting career. The boy who would be Doogie is one of the rare child stars to emerge from early fame and fortune unscathed and well-adjusted. Not only that, but he even managed to completely reinvent himself as a performer, thanks largely to a cameo in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, followed by not just a role on How I Met Your Mother, but a number of acclaimed roles on Broadway. In 2014, he won both an Emmy and a Tony, and oh yeah, he's super into magic. We're talking about a lifelong obsession here, including producing a magic-themed immersive theatre project recently. So it should come as little surprise that his love of magic would extend to his own home. Some people have man caves, but Doogie Howser has a hidden room, complete with a secret door leading to a room where, as implied in the title of this entry, all the magic happens. This proves once again what a down-to-earth guy he is, as he admits that the secret door was actually influenced by another goofy love of his, and that would be Scooby-Doo. It kind of makes sense when you think about it. When he was a kid, he gained fame playing a child who acts like an adult. Now he gets to be a grown-up who acts like a kid. That's a charmed version of adulthood right there. Number 8. Drake's live-in resort, complete with ATM. Drake is best known for his role as that kid in a wheelchair on Degrassi: The Next Generation, but apparently he also does some music. Anyway, Canada's favourite non-hockey playing son, just kidding, of course he played hockey, seems to be putting that sweet Degrassi money to good use, considering just how ridiculous his home is. We're talking about a place that has basketball courts, tennis courts, an enormous pool with a grotto, and a 30-foot water slide, and it's also got, for some reason, a mechanical bull. I mean, sure, why not? It's basically got everything else you could think of as well, including a giant wine cellar, a game room, a weight room, a screening room that'd be the nicest movie theatre we've ever been to, and an ATM. Why he has that ATM, that is kind of a mystery to us though. Number 7. Celebrities love candy rooms. When you're a kid and start daydreaming about the kind of mansion you'd buy when you grow up and hit it big on a scratch ticket, there are a few amenities you're almost certainly going to put on the checklist. A movie theatre, an arcade, the most awesome pool ever, and naturally a candy room. But most of us grow up and realize that that's not particularly practical. Most of us also don't have millions upon millions of dollars and nothing to do with it. For those who do though, well, they really do actually love their candy rooms. Nick Cannon and Mariah Carey have a candy room, and the dude who created Minecraft outbid Jay-Z and Beyonce for a $70 million place that, of course, has a room devoted entirely to candy. Geez, you'd really think it would be the person who invented Candy Crush, right? Well, that particular house, it has multiple fully stocked bars, and we don't mean one of those small rolling carts or a fancy liquor cabinet. When we say bar, we mean an actual bar with an elegant bar top and stools for falling off after too much tequila. Number 6. Lady Gaga's house is, well, it's surprisingly normal. Now, first things first, when we say that Lady Gaga's house is normal, we don't mean that it's a run-of-the-mill pad or that it isn't extravagant. The thing is more than 10,000 square feet and cost $23 million. So when we say normal here, we mean in comparison to the artist who has worn meat as a dress. Got it? Cool. Anyway, think of all the things you'd assume Lady Gaga would have in her home, like a walk-in refrigerator for her outfits. And now think of the last thing you'd ever expect. Did you come up with a bowling alley? Because Lady Gaga's house absolutely has one of those. It's also got stables and an 800-bottle wine cellar. We just find this pretty amazing because we're desperate to know how often she actually bowls and what she wears when she does this. I mean, does she wear bowling shoes? Is she in a league? Does she have a rug that really ties the room together? These are the things which we need to know. Number 5. Celine Dion's former waterpark house. You didn't think we'd let Drake hog all of the Canadian extravagance on this list, did you? Well, fellow Great White North native Celine Dion used to live in one of the most incredible houses we could ever imagine, and because it was in Florida, yes, that means it included basically an amusement park. Well, a water park to be specific. We're not talking about a big pool and a water slide either. Not only is it an oceanfront property, but it's got 3 pools and actual giant amazing water slides as far as the eye can see. Well, as long as you're looking at them anyway. Her Jupiter Island home isn't just 10,000 square feet, but it also has a guest house with 8 freaking bedrooms. When your guest house is a mansion in its own right, you know you're doing pretty well for yourself. Dion actually put the house on the market in 2016 and struggled to find a buyer for more than a year because apparently rich people hate splish-splash inspired fun. But it's okay because now the house has been purchased and we know that her park will go on. Number 4. Paris Hilton's dogs live better than you. Paris Hilton, for those of you who've blocked her from your minds, was basically a Kardashian before the Kardashians were a thing. The party girl and heiress to the Hilton Hotel empire got famous for making a terrible sex tape and being vapid and wildly out of touch with reality. So it really should not be a surprise that she'd go ahead and build herself a private nightclub inside her own house, right? But that is not even the craziest part of her house. In fact, the craziest part isn't even in her house. It's a smaller replica of her house. Now, rich people buying fancy dog houses for their furry friends is not unusual. Heck, our old pal Drake apparently has an air-conditioned doghouse on his property. But Hilton, she went above and beyond for man's best friend, building the Doggy Mansion. It was custom designed and built to match her own abode, right down to the crown molding and furniture. It's 2 stories high, and for some reason we can't quite understand the dogs have their own closets. No word on whether there's a private doggy nightclub or not, but I mean, it doesn't really matter because we're pretty sure we wouldn't be on the guest list anyway. Number 3. 50 Cent's home for the elderly? Okay, so no, 50 Cent's house wasn't an assisted living facility when he lived there, but the home, which he himself bought from Mike Tyson, was purchased in 2016 by a nursing home management company with the intent of turning it into an old folks home. This is pretty hilarious when you think about it, because it went from Tyson to 50 Cent to your great aunt Ethel. Of course, as absurd as this chain of residency seems, double that absurdity and you'll be in the ballpark for the amenities that 50 Cent had placed in the home as part of a multi-million-dollar renovation. We're talking about a nightclub complete with stripper poles, naturally, a helicopter pad, and craziest of all, a full casino. Apparently, the place cost more than $70,000 per month to maintain, which could be a part of why 50 Cent filed for bankruptcy and ultimately sold the place. It's a real shame too, because we're not sure how he's going to get by without those 9 kitchens. Number 2. John Travolta's live-in airport. John Travolta has a minor obsession with planes. You might have noticed that when he called his son Jet, or when his character in the Look Who's Talking films went from being a taxi driver in the first one to an airline pilot in the sequel. That's not really a career path you see very often. Plus, this is a movie about a baby who sounds like Bruce Willis, so reality kind of goes out the window on that one. Anyway, the plane obsession for Travolta, a licensed pilot as if you didn't know, extends to his home in Ocala, Florida. It's actually part of a full development for flying enthusiasts like Travolta called Jumbola Aviation Estates. And we're not talking about people here who have a little Cessna that they take up on the weekends. Travolta himself had a Boeing 707 which he kept in a garage attached to his house. Number 1. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s Old West Town. Alright, so we've mentioned man caves in passing within this list. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s man cave is pretty much the man cave to end all man caves. His version of a man cave is immense. In fact, it's actually a full Old West town. The NASCAR driver decided to go just a tad above and beyond to create a cool place for him and his friends to hang out, and what he came up with was Whiskey River. Whiskey River, as it were, looks like something you'd find in a Disney theme park. It's extraordinarily detailed, with a saloon, a barbershop, a post office, a bank, a pharmacy, and a sheriff's office complete with jail cells. But now that he's announced that he's retiring at the end of the year, we can imagine that he's going to be slapping on the spurs a little more often. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below. Don't forget to subscribe for brand new videos every day of the week. Also, check out some of our other videos that are over there on the right. And as always, thank you for watching.